this is kind of how the portal has gone the last couple of years. Nothing's there hasn't been like a flurry of locking guys down early on. And my response was kind of like, yeah, and it didn't really work out very well in the end. So, you know, I mean, I think that's kind of the part of the concern here. Hello and welcome into another edition of Three Ma. John Kurtz, Derek Young, Cole Manbeck with you today. I mean, to be honest, it's not a whole lot in terms of tangible updates, but we'll keep you updated on what's going on in the transfer portal, potential coaching change, and little K-State baseball. All right. Now, if you're asking yourself, if you're watching on YouTube, what is on Derek Young's head? I have no idea, but maybe it'll start to make sense after some Ben Holiday bottled in bond bourbon or some 360 vodka from our good friends at Holiday Distillery. It goes great with anything that you're trying to do this spring into the summer, whether you're going to be tailgating for some K-State baseball or perhaps just hanging out outside on the deck. Like perfect nights, spring nights go really, really well with a glass of Ben Holiday bottled in bond bourbon or 360 vodka. Thank you to our friends at Holiday Distillery. You got anything on this one, Cole?
On what? DY's hat?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty stunned to see him in it. I don't know. I'll let DY describe it, but DY, I prefer your other hats over this.
Well, I mean, it's a bucket hat.
Rain hat?
Warm weather. Got some rain coming in. Yeah. Had a bad hair day. Just threw it on.
You couldn't find a home field apparel hat to put on?
Yeah, I got plenty right here, but I got home field shirt on, and I don't know. This was my jam this morning when I woke up.
Okay, well, we'll maybe find out a little bit more later on. We'll save the home field stuff for the home field read. All right. Yeah, it's a Texas A&M shirt for anybody who's not watching on YouTube here. We'll start with the portal. Markel Sutton from Omaha did come and go. He visited. He did not commit. Now took a visit to LSU. It's a dead period in terms of at least in-person contact for the next week. So he apparently has a Nebraska Zoom set up. So we'll see what's going on there. But I think the disappointment would be that the visit goes off without getting a commitment. Doesn't always mean that it's going to be a bad thing, but obviously, so often in the portal, you see the first visit come and it gets wrapped up. So that's why you get your hopes up a little bit when you get the first visit. This is definitely a guy I think we're all in on, K-State landing, being a good thing. Even if he may not be a total superstar, this is somebody that you want on the roster. So a little bit disappointing, Cole.
Yeah, I mean, and to be clear to everybody, they tried to close him. So it's not like they tried to slow play this and just had him in for a visit. They wanted Markel Sutton to commit to Kansas State, and they weren't able to get it done. He went on to LSU for a visit. That's wrapped up, and now we wait. And there's a dead period now. I mean, that's the other thing that's important to note. April 3rd to the 10th is a dead period for people that wonder what that means. You can still text, you can still call, you can do video calls with recruits, but you can't have any in-person contact. So you can't go visit them, can't fly around visiting recruits or guys in the portal, and they can't come visit your campus. So only digital type communication that can occur. So that means, guys, that the season ended on March 12th, and we're going to be talking about on April 11th being the next day that K-State could have a visitor, which means that in almost a month's time, K-State brought in one visitor. Now, again, there wasn't an open period that entire time to bring visitors in. It was a shorter window, but it's disappointing to say the least that you only brought in one visitor in that time frame. And there was an opportunity to get ahead of the game with the season ending and not playing in the postseason. And I just don't feel like K-State took advantage of that.
Nothing to add?
LSU is obviously where he visited after K-State. All I will say is like the options now are for him to like decide between Kansas State and LSU during this week where he can't necessarily visit anywhere else, or he waits and goes and visits another program, such as Nebraska, which apparently has been connected to him on a serious level as well. But what I would say is like the other issue that kind of creeps into the back of your mind with him visiting LSU is they're rumored to be one of the more heavier hitters on the NIL front this offseason when it comes to basketball.
Which is funny because Matt McMahon and LSU has been a disaster. Like, I'm honestly stunned that they held on to Matt McMahon as the head coach. He's done nothing at LSU in his time there. I think this was year 3 for him. I don't even know if they made the postseason in terms of the NIT, but they haven't come close to sniffing the NCAA tournament. And they do already have 2 commits, maybe 3. They got a big one yesterday from Northeastern. The guy averaged 17 points a game, 6'6" wing. I don't think that impacts the Markel Sutton. I mean, he was visiting when this commit came in. He's probably still a take for LSU. I can't say for certain, but again, it's just disappointing he couldn't close him while he was here at Kansas State when you know that they tried to. So we'll see. It doesn't mean he can't commit to K-State. I mean, at times guys will circle back and end up committing, but like DY said, in the portal, and like you said, John, if you don't get the commit right out of the gate when you're the first visit, it's oftentimes an uphill battle. So we'll see where they go next. The Marion Dickerson was another guy mentioned visiting soon in air quotes, but now we're in the dead period, and I don't believe that visit occurred. So we're probably looking at after.
And that's why I had questions when everyone was talking about, Dickerson visiting soon and what that meant. And I was like, well, with the timing of Sutton's visit and then the dead period right after, I don't know that soon is actually a thing. So that's why I wasn't putting a ton of stock into it. And it does feel like to me, it should be anyways, like an either or situation. I don't know that you can bring in both Sutton and Dickerson based on your other, what we assume their needs will be in the portal, because like when it comes to the transfers they need, like all of them have to be like some of their best players.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, guys, and we texted about this a little bit.
Really, you like Dickerson more?
I like Dickerson a little bit more as a fit, but, and I agree to you, I don't think, we talked about it on the last show, I don't think they can take both. And so,
and that's under the premise that for me, it's like if Tyreek Smith gets his waiver, especially like, yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I like Dickerson a tad more, but again, to the staff though, like they wanted Sutton. So like, and that doesn't mean they don't want Dickerson, but yeah, it's not like they were like trying to slow play Sutton to like see Dickerson.
If Tyreek Smith does not get his waiver, are you more likely to be okay with taking both? Maybe, I think. But
well, and some of the concern here, I mean, we've talked about this in the last 2 portal cycles, Cole, is like your first wave of targets. Like they've gotten into trouble when they've missed on guys that they've taken big swings at and made big runs at that were in like that first kind of A tier of targets, and then they get further down the board, and that's when you maybe have to overpay and panic a little bit just to ensure that you're locking guys down. So, I know that was mentioned in the Discord last night, like, hey, this is kind of how the portal has gone the last couple of years. Nothing's there hasn't been like a flurry of locking guys down early on. And my response was kind of like, yeah, and it didn't really work out very well in the end. So, I think that's kind of the part of the concern here.
I think they got dug fairly early, but
they did. I mean, he committed in April. But to John's,
and the portal opened earlier. This year is like, it was a little bit later than typical. So if you look back in the last couple of years historically, even the ones that worked, like they're still not necessarily behind schedule at the moment.
But I think that's John's point, right? Is like you'd like to move quicker. Like,
yeah, you would.
And here, the only year this worked out, the whole slow playing and thing, was the year they got Keontae, right? And that was a whole variety of reasons as to why it happened. And they got Keontae in August, and obviously that was a home run. They got Desi Sills.
Naquan Tomlin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That year was great. I mean, obviously it worked out great. Desi Sills was like a late May, June.
And Naquan's JUCO, not transfer anyway.
Yeah. So nobody's faulting the way that portal class worked out, and the whole patient approach ended up working there. But I think now they need to, and I think that's part of why they wanted Sutton. You know, they want to go ahead and get a guy that they want locked up early and have a commit or two, so they're not chasing down the road options B or C. And
I will say, like, despite the quantity that is in the portal right now, I don't know how you feel about it, but it doesn't feel like it has the same star power yet, actually, in the portal at the moment.
See, I feel like there's a lot of good players in the portal.
I think there's a lot of good players. I don't think there's a lot of great players like usual.
No, I mean, look, there's the numbers man throwing around at $2.5-3 million for a lot of these guys.
Like there's not like Coleman Hawkins, Keontae Johnson type dudes in a portal.
Well, and let's be honest here, and this is not a dig on Coleman. Coleman Hawkins was a third team All Big Ten player. All right, and like I don't know if people really considered him a star.
I think he's more valuable. I think he's more valuable than that. So that's why I put him a little bit in a higher rung.
Yeah. Well, I just think he had more name value. He had name recognition because he was a personality. Like there's
something to that, but I think the way he plays, I think he brings more value than an All Big Ten third team guy personally. Anyways, what I am saying is like there's none of those guys yet. Like from like a really good player from a really good team is not in the portal yet, right? I can't think of anything off the top of my head, at least not to that level.
Yeah, but I guess I don't know, and I know what you're saying. Like everything would trickle down from that, but like it's not like we're expecting this team. Like, call a spade, man. The coaching staff doesn't have the juice, I don't think, right now to be huge fish in the portals.
Yeah, I think there's a lot. Trust me, a lot of good players in the portal. Like Kansas State should be able to land some good players because there's a lot of them available. I just don't know if there's that many great players, like all Big 12 first or second team guys out there right now.
I like it when there's some big fish out there because it distracts some of the other programs. So you're chasing them, and then you can swoop in and maybe take that second tier option that would be a top tier option for your program. I mean, we have RJ Lewis in the portal, the Big East Player of the Year. That's a big one, obviously. But I mean, yeah, like there's guys entering.
Bryce Hopkins was probably that guy, and he already signed with St. John. Said he didn't even play last year.
Yeah, I mean, you got guys that continue to enter. Like Trey Holloman was a surprise to me. Now he's not a star, but he's a solid role player guard, Michigan State guard. I mean, I wouldn't mind Trey Holloman, though he can't shoot all that well from the perimeter. But he's a hard-nosed, gritty, defending type guard that can get out and run, and he really attacks the rim. It's surprising usually to see like a Tom Izzo player enter the portal. They've been really good at retention, but that name popped in. There was a kid from Washington State that I know, Parker, on our Discord. He entered last night. He's a wing. Watts, I believe, last name. I haven't looked into him too much. He's got him number one. He's like the biggest one he wants right now, Parker. But again, that feels like a long shot. So,
there was a Washington State kid last year we got all excited about, right? And then nothing happened. Or did he go to Washington State?
Went to Washington State. Cedric Coward. He's a wing, John, and started the season really well for the Cougars, but he got hurt 6 games in and had shoulder surgery and missed the rest of the year. So
okay,
yeah.
Well, all these portal, I mean, it just all runs together at this point. It's just it's wild, dude. Okay, you know what? We've got. Boy, do we have a name? We've got a name for you. We're gonna take a break. When we come back, I've got a big time name for you to throw out there. Like maybe pseudo sort of links to K-State. But now is the time to talk about Derek's shirt. Maybe not necessarily the hat. Show us the shirt, DY. Homefield Apparel. Homefieldapparel.com. You can get your Home of the 12th Man shirt if you care to help out a fellow Aggie. I did see the Aggies getting dunked on quite a bit because of a Billy Lucci tweet that was talking about how many championships they were going to win with, I think it was Jimbo, Buzz, and Jim Schlossnagle, who was their baseball coach. Baseball coach left for Texas. Buzz is now left for Maryland. And Jimbo, they had to pay like $80 million to go away. So I guess DY just feels bad for Texas A&M and all their money.
And Vic Schaefer, the women's basketball coach from A&M, took the job at Texas and now is taking Texas to the Final Four this year. So,
they lose their best coaches to Texas. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess if A&M makes a good hire, it's going to all be because DY went to homefieldapparel.com and got his Home of the 12th Man shirt. Don't worry, there's plenty of good K-State gear. Everything Cole's wearing pretty much head to toe right now. Home field apparel. He is a walking billboard for it, but you can get the pullover, which is sick. I have it as well. Go to homefieldapparel.com. Use promo code 3Mod24. You can get 15% off your first order. We're back in just a moment.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Are you ready to win real money this March? Struggling to choose which team will pull off an upset? Forget about the teams. All you need to focus on are player stats to rack up big cash prizes with DraftKings Pick 6. And when it comes to the massive payouts, DraftKings dunks over all the competition. Pick 6 is available in most states, including Missouri, California, Texas, Georgia, and more. Track your picks for a shot to win huge cash prizes. It's as simple as that. All you have to do is pick which players you think will score, rebound, get assists, and fill up the stat sheet, and you can win. It's that easy. So turn your college basketball knowledge into cash today. New players get $50 in Pick 6 credits instantly with just a $5 entry. So download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN for new customers to play $5 and get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited, 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promo.
I feel like it might be dangerous to be bringing up one of these burners in this era where they're just falling, they're just dropping like flies. The burners that are predicting where transfers are going to go on Twitter are just going poof, exploding, going away out of nowhere. Very weird, bizarre sagas. Look, Trilly Donovan is pretty established at this point, all right? But Trilly has floated perhaps interest between K-State and Nigel Pack, who, I don't know if someone could Photoshop me a picture of what Pack would look like in a K-State uniform, but we've already seen it. He'd guard here for a minute.
Photoshop.
What do you think about that, DY? Nigel Pack and K-State reunion. Look, first of all, I will say I highly, highly doubt that happens, but it did get floated out there by Trilly a little bit to at least, give us some fodder to talk about here.
I like it for the fodder. I don't know if I like it for, like, he didn't, despite taking them to a Final Four, or at least playing a large role in taking them to a Final Four, although my argument would be that they had a really good leader in the backcourt that year. His name is escaping me at Miami. But after that guy left, he kind of butted heads with Larinaga to the point where Jim Larinaga, I'm sure Nigel Pack wasn't the only headache on the team, but to the point Larinaga really just quit coaching. Like that's he got to that point. They got to that point, and then this past year, like, he gets injured again. So you got the injury prone stuff. You got a little bit of what we know is not always doing the right things off the court. And I say doing the right things. It's more him, I guess, butting heads with his coaches quite a bit throughout his career. Based on everything that happened last year, and knowing what he is as a smaller two guard, essentially. I'll take the offense, but I think it would probably not be an ideal fit for Kansas State.
Remember when Nigel left for Miami and the 2-year, $800,000 NIL deal was thought to be just this shocking number?
Yeah.
It's crazy where we're at.
See, Cole, to that point, the conversation we were having earlier about, hey, it kind of worked out when they slow played things that first year in the portal. Like, that was a totally different world, dude. That was a totally different portal than what the last couple of years have been. Because, yeah, that was when that was happening. We were all astounded, like jaw to the floor, that Nigel Pack was going to get $800K. The other thing about it is, like, I mean, Nigel didn't really seem very receptive at all to Jerome Tang as all that was going on. Now, you know, I think he was definitely a Bruce loyalist, and there were probably some hard feelings there. But it would be, that's why I said it wouldn't be very likely. It seems weird to me that like now is the time that you would like come back and have interest in Jerome Tang. It just seems weird after the way things went down when he left.
Yeah, didn't give him much of a shot to retain him, was quickly out the door. And I think we thought Purdue was likely at that time, and then he ended up at Miami, and in year one went to the Final Four. K-State went to the Elite Eight. Both teams had an opportunity to get into the Final Four. Look, DY mentioned it, suffered a foot injury reportedly this year. He didn't play in a game after December 10th. And Jim Larrañaga was quoted at that time of, "You'll have to ask him." And look, I'm just reading between the lines. It didn't sound like Jim Larrañaga thought necessarily that it wasn't something he couldn't play through. It read that way. I'm not saying that because I don't know, but he missed time the year before as well with a knee injury, missed multiple games. And so kind of injury prone. Now, over 1,700 points scored in his career and an over 40% 3-point shooter on 776 attempts in 5 years of college basketball.
He could score. He's probably not going to defend much for you, but he could score. But we know of multiple cases now where he's kind of at least agitated some head coaches.
Yeah, DY, the thing that I question is, it would be fun scoring-wise, but can you survive defensively with Doug McDaniel and him and two smaller guards?
I don't think so. I don't think so. And we not only are they limited from a physical standpoint when it comes to their defense, they're limited, at least at times, of each of them when they want to play defense.
Yeah, and I guess we should also just note that he has to get a medical waiver because he's already played 5 years.
Sounds like he'll probably get it.
Yeah. So seeking a medical.
There's a certain percentage of games, I guess, and he's under that. Yeah.
He played 9 games, the percentage, and he needs, so he'll be going into his 6th year of eligibility. Look, he had an offensive rating of 124 in 9 games this year, which is really good. 104.60 rating last year, and then a 113.2 offensive rating in his first season at Miami. Look, there's no doubt.
Wait. What about his D rating?
Well, yeah. So, John, that D rating looks like, I think Parker quoted on the Discord that the D rating is 125.6. So, Nigel Pack and I have similar D ratings. DY, did you know that?
I think I defended more people than Nigel Pack last year.
But did you know that he and I have similar D ratings?
No, I didn't.
There was quite a conversation yesterday on the Discord, patreon.com/3ma, about Cole's D rating and Nigel Pack's D rating.
DY, do you want me to send you some film? Maybe you could regrade my D
No,
rating.
I don't want film without you. No, I don't.
Cole, that might be the funniest thing you've ever said. I
don't want film of your D rating.
Well, I'll go out on the driveway and you can watch me play some defense. I think I'm right around it.
First of all, I don't think you could defend Brody. I don't know if Brody's there, but I'd tell Brody I think that he could cross you up. I don't think that would be very good.
Also, step back, man. He's got some nice moves now. He's really he's getting better. So
we need to move along.
Yeah. So my D rating.
Conclusion. Nigel Pack. Look.
Yeah.
Don't they just need good basketball players? I mean, he seems like a pretty good basketball player.
I don't think it'll work. I don't think it would work.
Well, John, here's the other concern with Nigel, though. He's shot 225 free throws in 5 seasons of college basketball. So
another dog that just won't be able to get to the line. Yeah.
So if your 1 and 2 guards get to the free throw line 50 times on a season, because Doug shot, I think, 68 free throws this year. Nigel Pack shot 51, I believe, each of the last 2 seasons. He hasn't shot more than 71 free throws in a season in 5 years.
Yeah.
And so then you're talking about 2 guards that don't really get to the rim. Well, Doug can get to the rim, but you know what I mean? He doesn't finish through contact, or doesn't create the contact or finish through guys. And so that's a concern as well. Yeah, you could use the shooting, but 2 smaller guards, not elite defensively. You'd have to be really long 3 through 5 to make up for that, I think.
And I think...
Well, and then Brendan Hawson. I mean, if you talk about Brendan Hawson return, like, you don't have who's driving to the
who's
to the
defending.
Yeah.
Would you rather have Pack or Hawson?
Pack. I don't think that's the choice, but
I know. But
the problem is having all 3 of Doug, Pack, and Hawson on the floor. I think.
It would be Pack. Vanessa just walked by my office, was wondering if she heard the conversation on defensive rating.
That's why.
Yeah, I don't know why would Vanessa care about a defensive rating? I don't really understand. All right. Do we want to talk about, I mean, first of all, the way I was about to set this up always reminds me of the classic early 2000s comedy Euro Trip. What an incredible movie that is. But it sounds like, there's maybe been a little bit of a K-State basketball Euro Trip going on here. Do we want to talk about this? The prospects of K-State pulling in somebody from overseas. Could that be a route that turns up, some uncovered gems? You guys Nick, our producer, said all these players suck in the portal. Well, go overseas, find some guys over there. What do you think, DY?
I think they got some paths to landing some really good players over there. They've been investing some time, not just recently. It's not like this is another one of their things that they've just began and are hoping that it makes quick and instant results. I think this is a scenario where they've actually invested a good amount of time. I think they started recruiting internationally around last year, or maybe even the year before that, and are now just getting their feet settled and understand who they want to chase and pursue, and have a good idea of what guys are going to come available and be interested in moving to the United States and play in the college game. So someone like Matthew Grajicic, I assume that's the way you pronounce it. He's a guard from Germany that plays on the under-18 Barcelona team. I think that's genuinely someone that they're chasing right now, and I think he genuinely has reciprocated a lot of interest from Kansas State. I know Louisville was also connected in that battle as well. And Cole's kind of been on this one, so I'll give him the social media call out here. But if you're just going off social media activity, it kind of leads you to think that Kansas State's in a really good spot for him. And I've heard from other places that they do feel good about it. And
Louisville was perceived to be maybe the biggest threat, right, for his services, DY, and they've landed 3.
Yeah, just something that both you and I had heard. Now, I don't think there was ever a report really mentioning that. There hasn't really been any reports about Grajicic at all, to be quite honest.
Well, there was one, I think, Dushan London of 247 Sports spoke to him in early March, and he mentioned that he was looking at some Big Ten, ACC, and Big 12 schools, K-State being one of those Big 12 schools. Now, if Louisville was thought to be a perceived threat, they had landed, I think, 3 guys. I mean, they have put together, Pat Kelsey's doing a great job there in the portal. They put together 2 guards and a wing. I think they've already landed. So that might knock them out. This is a guy that is a really talented 6'5", 200-pound guard from Germany, highly touted European prospect, plays for FC Barcelona. FC Barcelona is one of the best in the continent. It's over in Spain. He moved from Germany to play for FC Barcelona and helped lead the club's U18 team to the first place finish in the Adidas Next Gen EuroLeague ULM, and he was named the most valuable player. He had 20 points, 2 rebounds, and assists, drew 8 fouls in the championship game. He averaged 18.5 points, shot 47% from 3 on the outside in that tournament, and he's he's a really talented piece. I mean, I think he's pretty coveted, and a guy that K-State feels like they have a really good shot at. His coach quoted as saying he's able to produce in a lot of ways. He can shoot threes off the dribble, off screens, one-on-one situations, shares the ball, can create assists, and has really improved his defense a lot as well. So would be a big-time piece. Now, I was researching him, and I'd wondered if this was, a misread or not, but I don't think it is. It said in one game, in 2022-23 with the U18 ALBA, Berlin, and Munich, that he scored 52 points and had 9 rebounds and 4 assists and 7 steals in an overtime victory. So, look, he's a good player and a guy that would be great for Kansas State to land. He's 18. He's going to be 18 years old. So, essentially like a high school type prospect, but has played against some very high talented players over at FC Barcelona.
I guess I will say this about the mining Europe for some players. If we're going to go back to that first portal class, they had to get pretty creative, like Keontae, obviously unique situation with a health issue going on. And then they went JUCO for Naquan Tomlin, had to turn over a lot of rocks to find some of those guys when they didn't have as much, juice to go after like big fish because they were a new staff. And now you're here with back-to-back years outside of the tournament. I can understand that as a strategy, and I hope it works out.
I just don't know how unique it is anymore, but
yeah. A little bit more unique. I would say a little bit more unique, at least than just trying to take big swings at the. It's different. It's unique from what they did last year.
Yeah.
It's unique from what they did last year.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent over in Europe, and I think a lot of coaches have started to recognize it. Traditionally it was like you had Arizona, BYU, St. Mary's out in California, Gonzaga targeting a lot of those European prospects, and now you're seeing Cincinnati trying to get involved with some of these guys as well. Kentucky, Illinois, Brad Underwood prioritized it last year with Ivasic and Laconis. So you can go get some guys that are ready to play over in Europe, and K-State's clearly treating it as a priority. I mean, Anthony Winchester on the staff spent a long time over there in the last few weeks, and Jerome Tang joined them for a few days at some point. So they are prioritizing Europe, and hopefully they're able to reap the benefits of all their work over there.
We're going to have to take another break. When we come back, will there be coaching staff changes? Something I feel like we keep talking about. Nothing has happened yet, but will there be coaching staff changes? We'll discuss it next.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
So we're still sitting here waiting for, staff changes, guys to officially enter the portal from the roster. Nothing official is happening here. But I think we do expect some movement on the coaching staff front. What do you want to say about that, DY? What do you have to tell us about what could happen with this coaching staff?
Well, one would be that I think we know that Jareem Dowden was being pursued by a longtime friend and they coached together with Ross Hodge at North Texas. They were both at North Texas under Grant McCaslin. So when Ross Hodge got the West Virginia job, I think one of his priorities was try to get Jareem from Kansas State to West Virginia, and I think he tried really, really hard, and I don't think that will prevail. I think we anticipate Jareem Dowling sticking at Kansas State now. The other side of the coin is, and we'll see when an announcement of some kind could unfold, but I do think, even aside from Jareem, that they are going to lose a coach, and it's probably going to be I would say, coined a mutual separation of sorts.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be at least one change on the staff. Out of respect for the individual, we won't name him yet, but I would expect the news to trickle out. I mean, it's already trickling out, but I would expect it to become official probably very soon. So it'll be interesting to see what Jerome Dang does with his staff as far as, who he brings in. Is it an internal promotion? I think they need to make an external hire. Is it going to be one change or two changes to the staff? That's a question still we're trying to figure out, but we know of at least one that is going to occur.
And Anthony Winchester, I would think, is going to be a potential guy who could make a move here. Obviously,
yeah, we could get promoted like a backfill kind of promotion. It feels like even in the last year, he started to take on additional responsibilities, whether it be in pregame or on the court coaching during games and as well. And now obviously we're hearing more and more about him being, I guess, I don't know if a force is the right term yet, but at least very active for K-State on the recruiting trail at the moment.
And
so it would make sense.
Yeah. Now, I will say I would have liked to have had the whole coaching staff figured out before the dead period, but now that you're in the dead period, you do have basically a week to figure it out because you can't really do much anyways. So
the dead period needs to be what I would have thought would have happened before the portal opened, where you do all your homework and stuff that needs to get done in terms of knowing who you want to chase in the portal, figuring everything out there, kind of get organized of a plan of attack of what my needs are and who we absolutely want to chase. And then once we identify that, we, determine everything there is to know about them. So we are weaponized from a recruiting standpoint. And that organization also means we know who's going to be on the coaching staff going into next year.
Yeah. Well, I think that's been one of our frustrations, right? Is that it just like, you can imagine if you're trying to do all this portal stuff, like there has been this thing hanging over, like, is there going to be coaching staff change? And thinking about multiple different guys there. And now, I mean, with the West Virginia thing, it's like it's almost touched like all three of the lead assistants there with some questions about what's going on. And like, that's just hard. It's hard to recruit when like that's kind of the atmosphere and the environment that's going around there. So I think that's, where we've all just been like, man, it just feels like it's not super organized, and some of that is a little bit out of their control, if guys are trying to find other jobs. But I don't know. Anyway, that's definitely been a pain point. Anybody that's on patreon.com/3maw, definitely aware of that on the Discord.
Yeah. And so you head into this weekend. Obviously, the dead period is largely due to the Final Four national championship game that occurs.
Yeah, and I wonder if they'll be like they've been at. They were at each of the Final Fours since they've been at K-State. So are they going to be at the Final Four and kind of convening with everyone else there? It's when, for those that don't know, the Final Four is basically like a convention of sorts.
Yeah. Whether
it be with coaches or athletic directors. Is K-State going to be doing that? It might be. Maybe Jerome Tang's going to be scouting for potential coaching replacements.
Well, I will say, DY, when you say Jerome Tang's been at the Final Four every year.
Yeah.
See, remember he did the interview with the Field of 68 last year.
I don't know that the first off season he was. That's
okay.
Yeah.
I thought he was because he accepted the James Naismith National Coaching Award down there, if I recall correctly.
So you're like right when he got hired by K-State?
Oh, when he got hired. Okay, yeah. I was thinking his first off season after the.
Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a huge networking opportunity. I mean, that's what it is. All the coaches in the country are there. And so I say that as like they could talk to some people. It's the dead period. They've got 7 days now until it opens up. But you have to have your full staff in place and figured out by April 11th. It's April 3rd today. You come out of the dead period, know who's on the staff, have everything organized, and be ready to go as that opens back up.
What's your confidence level that happens?
I assume that it'll be happening because it just seems like that would be an easy thing to need or want to have done, but I don't know that it's 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it has to happen. So I
mean, this is. And it's going to sound like we're just like complaining, but it's kind of the way I'm saying it is, whether it's right or wrong, and obviously everyone can have their opinions. It's kind of been how Jerome Tang has conducted business. So he has his own style and the way he operates since he's been here. Remember when he first put this staff together and how long it took for Rodney Perry to become official?
Yeah.
Didn't they work for 4 or 5 months basically with only 2 assistants?
Look, that I think that didn't become official until either late July or early August. But we all knew Rodney Perry for months was going to be
right. So it just doesn't seem like that's a pressing issue or seems to be a factor in how Jerome Tang kind of assembles staffs, is what I would say.
That's a fair point. I'd forgotten about that. So yeah, okay. Hey, I mean, see what happens with guys landing in the portal. I mean, we'll see what happens. You can come along for the ride. Patreon.com/3maw if you want to get involved in the day-to-day on the good old Discord. Anything else on basketball that you guys want to add? Okay. Well, K-State baseball is ranked 22nd in the country. They could be in position to host a regional. I know in one of the projections this week, they were hosting a regional, which has only happened one time in school history. Of course, back in 2013, they won the Big 12. They hosted a regional, went on to that super at Oregon State. I mean, where is your optimism, excitement level here with K-State baseball right now?
I mean, it's high, of course. And what I would say in that projection, not only were they picked to host a regional, like as the 9 overall seed, it was almost, it's like talking about hosting a super regional type number there if it were to continue to kind of track that way. So it's been a special season already, and typically this is a team that's kind of started slow and then got hot late. So this is we're not accustomed to whose teams being positioned where they are right now. They're in first place all alone in the Big 12, 8-1 in the conference. So the excitement level is definitely very, very high. I guess in the back of your mind, you're kind of like, when does the shoe drop to, or where's it fall? Maybe it's this weekend. Oklahoma State, you play them in Stillwater, where it's a tough place to play. They're better than their record indicates. They've disappointed this year. They've underperformed. You got to think that light bulb is going to come on for them at some point, and it would almost make sense and be poetic for it to be this week. And Cole was talking before we started recording. So another thing that would kind of make this a dangerous weekend series for Kansas State is they had to throw their closer for, over 50 pitches last night just to get by Wichita State, because they kind of had the midweek doldrums happen where you kind of get a big league coast and you don't throw your typical arms, and the league got away from them, and they had to throw a really good arm to get out of it. So I would say fun season so far, but this weekend seems dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, James Guyette's a guy, too, that they've actually, we say closer loosely with him because they've actually used him the last 2 Saturdays to pitch the final 4+ innings of 2 different games that he's closed out. So he can go longer. They built up his pitch count. He's gone like 70 pitches, a couple different outings, but you don't want to burn him up in the midweek. They felt like they had to last night. It would have been a bad loss, and that's part of it. Like, you're talking about hosting.
It was a good decision. Yeah.
You're talking about hosting, potentially. Now, there is a long ways to go. They played 28 games. There's 27 games remaining on the schedule. So, with that caveat, they got to keep fighting.
Yeah, but on the other hand, the Big 12, not exactly elite this year, and Kansas State's got a really, really generous schedule the rest of the way when it comes to the Big 12.
Well, you miss Arizona and Arizona State, which are 2 of the other top teams in the league, and then you miss TCU, though you played them in a non-con game and beat the heck out of them, which is a really nice win. TCU was 26th in RPI, and K-State beat them on a neutral field, smoked them in the non-con. So, but you avoid them in conference play. Your toughest paths are like it's West Virginia, who's 24-4 and 30th in the RPI. You get them in Manhattan, and then the big series at KU, which D1 Baseball and Kendall Rogers tweeted out that it's the most anticipated Sunflower Showdown maybe in the history of the rivalry, which, I don't think you have to research it too much. These 2 programs near the top, K-State at the top of the Big 12 standings, KU 24-6 overall as well. That's going to be a huge series, April 18th to the 20th. What I will say is, if I'm K-State, I'm trying to get out of that April 15th to 16th series at Northeastern and Boston. It's a road trip. You got to fly out to Boston. Now, they scheduled this thinking they needed to boost the RPI at the time and the strength of schedule. They did the same thing last year when they went out to Boston. They played UConn and Northeastern back-to-back on the road. They don't need to do that right now, okay? K-State is 16th in the RPI, according to WarrenNolan.com. They're 57th in strength of schedule. It's why they're set to where they could potentially host. I mean, if you look at K-State's non-con guys, they played 2 games at Coastal Carolina. That's a number 5 team in the RPI right now. They played at North Carolina, 15th in the RPI. They defeated Arkansas, who is 27-3 now, just destroying the SEC. They're the number 1 RPI team in the country. They beat them. They beat Michigan on a neutral field. They're top 50 RPI. I mentioned TCU, top 30 in RPI. Now, they have a loss at Creighton, 44th in RPI, and then they're 2-0 versus Nebraska, who's 96th in the RPI. I'd get out of that Northeastern game. They're 19-8, 74th in RPI. That's a 2-game series because right after it, you have KU for a 3-game series in Lawrence, and I don't think K-State has the pitching, and most college baseball teams don't have the pitching to survive 5 games in 6 days.
Yeah, I hate that. I didn't know that at all. You guys, I saw you talking about that in the group chat yesterday. I was like, man, what? Why? Like, why was that? I mean, I'm sure going into the season, the expectation wasn't that Kansas would be as good as Kansas had been this year. Yeah. Probably some of that.
Yeah, and it's offense driving K-State. 52 home runs now on the season. Maximus Martin has 12 home runs. He's tops in the Big 12 in slugging percentage. He's top 10 nationally in slugging percentage with an .884 slug. Keegan O'Connor is top 5 in the Big 12 in slugging percentage. He's hitting .370 with 8 home runs. He's top 40 nationally in slugging. This team's averaging 8.5 runs per game, guys. Last year's team, with all the firepower they had, averaged 6.5 runs per game.
So we have the torpedo bats? Is that it?
It looks like, I mean, last night, 13 runs. I mean, they've scored 10 or more runs in 11 games this year. They've scored at least 6 runs in 18 and 28 games. Offense has been tremendous. The depth 1 through 9 in the lineup, really good. D. Kennedy, transfer from Texas, been really good. Seth Dardar, good. And then AJ Avasco, just looks like a future star, already his star, freshman, 6'6". He's 16th in the Big 12 in OPS. He's hitting .357. He's driven in 30 runs. They've got a lot of talent. Pete Hughes has assembled a lot of talent. Now, what I will say, guys, Carson Liggett, transfer from Louisville, starting pitcher, he's hurt. He hasn't pitched all year. He's probably not pitching this season. That hurts K-State's depth. And my biggest concern for this program is pitching depth and being able to get through the grind of these last 27 games. They start 3 lefties on the weekend in the rotation, and I get a little worried about that and them holding up. They're starting to leak water a little bit on those Saturdays and Sunday games, and the offense is carrying it.
I mean, that's always the deal. It's just harder in college baseball to put together a plus pitching staff.
Yeah.
So I think that's always going to kind of be your concern there. If you're not, if you're like if you're Arkansas, not as difficult. You can go find a bunch of arms, but if you're not in that tier, it's pretty tough. So we'll see. Cole, I love all the Pete Hughes love today, man. I mean, look, the guy does nothing but just churn out great rosters. You can't discount that. As somebody who, and I'll make this dig at myself. You guys should all be thanking me for the success of K-State baseball, because when I started doing baseball play-by-play on a regular basis, it was 2014. The year after, they won the Big 12 and went to the Super, and that started a stretch where they were terrible for the end of the Brad. I love you, Brad. Brad Hill was a great guy, but things went downhill and never came back under Brad Hill. And then I caught on to the beginning of the Pete Hughes era when they were definitely getting better. But then right about the time I left after 2021, well, now all of a sudden they bring in these like all-star rosters every year and they have a great team. So I am the one apparently that was the problem there. My apologies to everybody for like 7 years that had to endure all of that. But man, I've seen some bad K-State baseball. I've seen a K-State baseball team that hit 6 home runs the entire season. I believe it was one of those years, like 2016, 2017. It was wild. And then my last year with Pete Hughes, they were hitting home runs, 3 a game. And I was like, dude, I get to work on my home run calls. This is great. I never really got to do that before. So anyway, I just, as somebody who has seen a lot of very bad K-State baseball, this is crazy. And it's really cool, man. It's really cool to see.
Yeah.
Shout out to Pete Hughes.
This team's more like the one that actually went to Oregon State in the Super Regionals in terms of just offensive firepower. I mean, remember those teams, John? I covered those teams leading up to it. You had Nick Martini, Drew Beery, Justin Bloxam, Adam Munster, Blair Board.
Jerica?
Yeah, Carter Jerica, shortstop, second baseman, right? Yeah, I mean, he got drafted. I mean, they were loaded, and they were a lot of fun to watch. So,
well, that's the point that I was making earlier. Like, I think that's the way you really have to do it if you're at K-State. I think you have to do it with a big mashing lineup as opposed to it's just too tough to get that kind of depth of pitching. at one of these more like northern schools. So you got to do it with the bats. Got to do it with the bats. Anything else?
We didn't jinx it. Hopefully we didn't jinx it talking about them, with the Oklahoma State series. To DY's point, they're 1-6 and last in the Big 12. They've lost 4 in a row, but they've got talent still, and that's a scary road trip. Now, I'll be surprised if they get all 3 games in with the weather forecasted in Stillwater, but at least split, and you'll be all right.
This is the weird thing. I mean, you guys, I just don't. These days, it's hard for me to have the bandwidth to follow it on like a really close basis. I wish genuinely that I had more to do it, but that's what like someone was telling they swept Texas Tech, right? And Texas Tech isn't what they used to be. Oklahoma State not what they used to be. I'm like, man, again, in my era, it was like, dude, Texas Tech and Oklahoma State. That was
it makes sense because I've seen those facilities and those stadiums, and they have really nice ones at both of those schools.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, Texas Tech baseball. Whew, yeah.
But right now,
I guess Oklahoma State just built their nice stuff,
and I've seen it. It's wonderful. But yeah, I mean the class of the conference is K-State, TCU, Arizona State, so West Virginia.
Did you leave Kansas out of there? Did you put KU in there?
They're kind of new to the.
Well, so is K-State.
Wow. How about that disrespect? Nick, did you listen to that? Send that clip to, that's going to be on the bulletin board. Well, K-State is slaving away at Northeastern. That's going to be on the bulletin board inside.
It's been more respectable than KU, though, even in the last few years, I would say.
All right. Well, K-State went to the tournament. But damn it, DY, we're going to be responsible for bulletin board at KU.
Listen.
West Virginia's been pretty good, too. Yeah.
I respect Kansas baseball, okay? Let the record show. Cole and I respect Kansas baseball, all right? So we're not trying to get you in any trouble, Pete.
They call it the Hog. What is the Hog? The stadium?
Yeah, Hogan Ballpark. Yeah, Crank the Hog. Yeah, that's been a thing. Uh-huh.
Is that more disrespect? I didn't even know what their stadium was. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Hogan Ballpark. Good old Hogan Ballpark. All right. Well, good show, boys. Yeah, and I agree, Nick. Yeah, maybe they could do an Oklahoma State reno. Yeah. Thank you to all our great sponsors. Very proud today, as always, I'm sure. Thank you to Nick Springer behind the scenes. For Derek Young, for Derek Young's bucket hat, for Cole Manbeck, I am John Kurtz. Thanks for listening to another edition of Fremont. Take care.